it shifts it. And so it's a constant play, and that makes us very uncomfortable over here. We just like to know what it is, just, you know, get her done, right? Get in there and just let me know what the deal are. But it's also our idea of site. Your site analysis, the site analysis we had to do in Romania, we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, but we finally realized that they don't see sites hermetically sealed like we do. Meets and bounds, right, that's for the transaction of real estate, right? And there are code implications because you have to draw the line somewhere. But you have to pull in, your building is in a neighborhood, that neighborhood is in a city, that city is in a region, and that region is in a country, and that country is in a neighborhood of countries, right? And there's global impacts, there are regional impacts, there are, you know, you think architecture's not political, financial. Did you realize what a boost the stadium was here when it got built? You know how many people are employed?
Do you think that's what has a lot to do with our linear process versus our not as much as a cyclical process because of our...
It very much reflects, here's my proof. You know, true proofs have an equal sign, but there's a long equation and there's another long equation, right? We think it's just the answer is 2, right? Yes, I do, because we have short-term vision, right? That's where we have gone. It is a consumerist, disposable vision. In Europe and Japan, and you know, China's interesting because they're trying to adopt this in the flick of an eye, right? But look at all our projects that bring people right in China. From all of our great architects. They're in China, aren't they? And they're cutting edge stuff, and every one of them, which is really strange. I mean, I'll use Tom Main again. The guy bloody changed. His whole ideology and practice has changed. You know, he's doing very sculpted landscape things. He's blending into the earth more. Structure is more almost random. It's very organic, right? And it really reflects how they see, for example, sight, which we've been trying to touch on. It's not a hermetically sealed, isolated, myopic thing. You're not even allowed to do that if you really look at their codes and their approval processes. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions that over here you just kind of go, can we stay focused? It's 90 by 120. Yeah, my building heights, yeah. You're asking me about the street front? You know, you're asking about pedestrian access? You know, what are you, crazy? You know, over there it's like, yeah, I've got people on the street here for 2,000 years. I mean, what, you want me to stop? For a car? No, the car is second. So, but yeah, it's a whole different system. And I think we have much to learn. So I think even the more American architects who could go over there, who made kind of open their eyes, are really going to see it as complete constraint and just utter chaos, where they're going to embrace that kind of change and learn to have a more flexible system. And you'll find the firms that learn how to work over there, they learn that they have to be remarkably fluid. And I would posit to say even a production firm, right, like HOK of some sort, has, I think, cultural impacts in their American firms. And they probably find it easier and maybe more profitable, I don't know. But they're certainly catching up with how, like, the only way we can make construction cheaper here is through production. It's about production, it's not assembly. And it's slowly coming, it's just slowly coming.
On the cultural aspect, along with programming, I mean, how hard was it to talk to, like, understand their cultures and how they would use programming versus ours, or did you just kind of pick up on that really quickly? Like, programming is very different.
Programming for us is, it's a spreadsheet that has, it's spatial, it's a numeracy exercise, you know. 13 classrooms at 950 square feet, you know, gym at 8,200 square feet, and you just kind of total up, and there's my total square footage, and if I want, like you can put your code on there and your occupancy and all that stuff. But the other aspects of that thing, programming for those guys has an occupancy use to it. And another good example would be the way they see an office plate, right? We do the most efficient square if possible, or a squarish rectangle as possible for efficiency of construction, right? Over there, they look at that kind of floor plate and that kind of program, because it starts with a program, as very inhumane. Why? Is because someone's valued with a corner office. The next value is someone with a window on the outside wall. The people of lesser value can see out those windows, and the really just peons are on the inside with no light, right? So the architecture set that up. It's not that the people really have that caste system, but it sets it up. How many hours, and they look at this, how many hours were wasted in human relations from an HR person having to deal with who gets, and promotion is awarded natural light? What, are you kidding me? But it is.
The corner
I mean,
office.
call it what it
That's
is.
like the thing.
It's the most, and a view, right? I mean, what a natural, almost human right, right? Well, you're gonna stick me in the back with no light for 8 hours? What, are you kidding me? And now you want me to be productive all the time, right? And you're gonna judge my productivity and maybe my salary depends on that? They have so many government regulations on that stuff that we kind of look at and roll our eyes at because it's bad business. But go look at Germany. Look at their GDP. Look at how much they spend on energy. Their rents are lower because the buildings just cost less to run on a daily basis. We look at it as a service industry. I hand off the building and buddy, I'm gone, right? I don't care if this thing consumes whatever. And if you want to give me a LEED checklist, you guys really realize how flimsy that is. When LEED came out, I took the checklist for a LEED certified building. I took it and did it on a school that I did in Pueblo 10 years prior. I had a LEED certified building. It's reasonable, right? If you just do what's reasonable, that's what LEED's trying to get Americans to do, be reasonable, right? Don't have this attitude of manifest destiny that nature is to be feared and made to be manipulated and overwhelmed, and they've adopted those different attitudes. And again, it goes all the way down the food chain of how you work, and they've had to figure that out. We've still kind of left this to our kind of big business of architecture, actually it's not even art, it's construction. Construction leads what we do. How many times have you guys heard that you're going to work for a construction company?
Developers, yeah.
The best developers are always architects anyway. So I hope I'm probably straight up, sorry, but I do think it's very cultural. I think it's and architecture over there is very important, and that's kind of what China is trying to import. But they don't even have a middle class or even an educated class. Remember, architecture is not necessary. Construction is.
I have an ethics question.
Absolutely.
And I kind of struggled with it through all my classes. When you go to another country to build and they have a very different ethics system like China would, or I imagine Europe's similar, but with labor in the UAE, if you want your building built there, it's going to be built with very cheap, if not slave labor. And ethically, in America, we view that as wrong, and we have issues with China about human rights and what's right or wrong. Do you struggle with that? Because I feel, okay, well, if you're in their country, you should sort of see it from their perspective and try to live with, what they have built, or do you just see it as absolutely wrong? And I don't know, do you carry your strong ethics, I guess, internationally, or do you have to let some go?
Yeah,
at what point?
we obviously choose to have to let them go because we don't know what goes on with all that stuff, and it's not like we're so absolute over here.
Yeah.
It's really funny, this economy right now. The day laborers are having a heyday. Cheap Mexican labor, if you realize how many, you go to like Minnesota, and they're huge. Basically, it's all illegal immigrants, and they don't worry about it one bit. Now, okay, you ask an ethical question, so I'm trying to give you the situation at hand, and I don't want to have situational ethics, because that's what that argument is.
Okay.
If it's bad, maybe I'll be just less bad, and I'll feel good about that. Well, that's not really true. I'm not sure how to employ that. At one point, I think I have to just kind of figure out how can I be the most responsible person I can be on all levels, and there are just things that I can't control. I guess I could refuse to do that. You know, I really could. So
There's a whole business implication too, if you don't, or economic implication.
I won't
if you
treat my
can't
people that
control.
way.
Yeah.
You know, I still refuse to give anybody a salary. You know, you work 9 hours.